Hi there. Welcome to The Preventable, the podcast giving you a seat at the table with conversations about the intersection of alcohol, drugs, and mental health in everyday lives. Take a seat and join us.
Welcome to The Preventable.
Thank you for having me.
Today we have a really, I think this is kind of an interesting guest. It's a riff off of the Sands Bar conversation we had a couple of episodes ago. Brad Zulick is with us, founder and CEO of Heirloom Bottling Company. And you, I would say, Brad, are a real early adopter, early supporter of Sands Bar.
Thank you. I'm blushing. Thank you. Yes.
I mean, when we think about people who kind of like hitched to the wagon and said like, yeah, I believe in this concept of an alcohol-free pop-up. You can have fun without, necessarily imbibing, like that. You were somebody who said, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And, it's, I shouldn't admit this on audio and film, but it's almost purely accidental. It'll go to, to my story and how I approach business as a non-business person. But I'm figuring it out kind of in real time.
Aren't we all, Brad?
Yeah. But the NA movement, the alcohol-free movement, kind of found me, and I kind of found them as a incredibly underserved population and growing population, and a fan base that is rabid and looking for new content. So it's we found each other, and it's been wonderful so far.
So let's say that we have folks listening who are like, Heirloom Bottling, what is that? So talk to us a little bit about what it is, and then I want to kind of press rewind and hear how you got here.
Sure.
So what is Heirloom Bottling?
So Heirloom Bottling, I think, if I was going to make it real simple, I make things that taste delicious.
True.
And
I can attest to that.
Or at least that's my goal. Basically, I do cocktail, mocktail solutions. They're flavorings, they're concentrates, they're things that you would want to add to, seltzer water or ice or lemonade or iced tea. And it's a flavoring, and they're all natural. They tend to be fruit forward, and I do shrubs and syrups. And
What's a shrub?
That's a good question. So the difference between a shrub and a syrup is, for me, a shrub has a vinegar component. So shrubs are historical. I did not pick the name. It's a terrible name.
It is.
Sounds
it doesn't
like
sound very
topiary.
appetizing.
No.
But it's delicious.
And it's confusing. So again, things that you learn, make a product that people know about, so you don't spend your entire conversation educating them as to what it is that you do. Thus, I go back to things that taste delicious.
Yeah.
But no, shrubs have a vinegar component. It's an old homesteading trick, hundreds of years ago, early colonial. You don't have modern refrigeration. What do you do with your fruit before it spoils? Well, you add last year's wine that has turned to vinegar, and the acidity in the vinegar makes the fruit not spoil through the winter. And then the bottom of that barrel where all the juices are, that's the shrub, basically. So, yeah, adding that to a drink, it's a little sweet, it's fruity, it's sour. It hits the palate in the middle where your sour sensors are on your tongue, and it's like I can get sweet, fruity mocktails, cocktails in any place in this town, any time of the day. But that sour note is what really makes the shrub special. It just is something. It's an element that's not in a lot of drinks unless you're really into kombucha. Or pickle juice or something.
Man, okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about kombucha for a second?
I love it.
I try really hard. And I walked into a couple of local kombucha places that shall remain nameless. And the smell is overpowering. And I try so hard. Like, I would rather, this is Nicole talking, I would rather drink a spoonful of apple cider vinegar and just get it over with. Then like sip on kombucha. And yet people love it. And there's a huge market for it.
There is. And it's that fermented, lactic fermentation. You get the sour and you get all the good aminos and all the good probiotics. I like it. It's, good for your internal health
and everything, right?
Absolutely. But it's not for everyone.
So when you talk about sour with your shrubs and your syrups, and you talk about hitting the notes on your tongue, like I'm a food nerd, and so really with every bite of food, you do want a sour component, right?
Absolutely.
You want a little heat, a little salt, a little acid, and you want a little sour.
Yeah. I've worked in enough restaurants and have enough chef friends and watched a tremendous amount of cooking shows.
Totally.
I know that sour note, that vinegar, that that acidic note is very important in cooking. And yeah, it's like roasting vegetables in a pan, and like they taste good, but then you put that squeeze of lemon on top, and it's like, wow, where did that come from?
Exactly.
This is so much better. Yeah.
So could I drink your products? Could I just drink them over ice, or no? They're designed
You could sip
to be...
them over ice, but they're designed to be diluted. So I guess it's it comes down to how strong and how sweet do you like your beverages.
Got it.
I used to like Pixie Sticks when I was 5 or 6, but I'm way too old for that. So my stuff, a little goes a long way, a half ounce per drink. But you could certainly add more if you are if you're a big fan of sweets or strong flavors.
And you are not a person in long-term recovery. I am not either.
Correct.
But we also see the value in providing good, solid alternatives for people who are either in recovery or who just choose not to drink.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think people will drink less, not just for, health or, substance issues, but if they have options, it's easier to drink less. And if your options are more than, a Shirley Temple or a Diet Coke with lime in it, or, yesterday's stale ass iced tea. Sorry, can I say ass
Yeah,
here?
you're fine.
Yesterday's stale ass iced tea, that's been sitting in the container, not the good kombucha fermentation, but whatever off flavors you're getting picked up. Yeah, I mean, look, we need more options. This is, it's 2022. We should have options beyond just, the same old, 3 things. And I got to say, being in this industry, the options are absolutely exploding right now. Not just with kombucha, but, beer is, NA
Totally.
beer is exploding. And I got to say, it's not just the same old, terrible NA beers from 20 years ago. There's stuff out there. It's like, this is impressive.
I had one last night, as a matter of fact, and
Yeah.
it was very, very good. Annie O'Donoghue, she knows I'm a little particular about things, and so she's always saying I think you'd really like this. So I tried one last night, and it kind of knocked my socks off.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea. I mean, if you didn't know, you would have had no idea,
Yeah.
So how did you get your start? Because in talking before we started rolling here, you said this isn't what you went to school for. You've done a lot of other things. So did you just start experimenting and one day decided to go for it?
Pretty much. The long and short of it is, we moved to St. Louis for my wife's career. I had a previous career in higher education policy. I worked for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Shout out, Go Badgers. And I went to grad school there, and I got hired to work in the School of Education. And I had a great job. I worked with wonderful, awesome, intelligent, passionate people. And, we moved down here, and I foolishly thought, oh, yeah, I'll get a job in St. Louis. I have a strong career. I got a good background. I got an education. I'll get something. And I just wasn't getting offers. And I was interviewing everywhere. I wasn't getting offers. And, the house was really clean, and my wife was getting gourmet meals, and the dog was, well-walked every day. But, it was, you could feel it coming. One day my wife came home, and she's like, Brad, you got to get a job because I don't want to hate you for having the life that I want to live.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Your job seems really great right now, but you need to do something. Start a business, do something. And, I had thought about a lot of different things. And, I just thought, craft beer is exploding. Maybe, something like that. And I was like, no, I don't want to work in that industry, having been a bartender, it's just not healthy. The late hours, having worked in a microbrewery, it's just not healthy. I know my limits. I know my age. So I thought, well, maybe craft cocktail has something. And I love the craft cocktail scene. I go to Planter's House and Retreat Gastro Pub, and there's some great places out there. And it's that's where I first started having Shrubs and was making them at home. And so the story of Heirloom, now that you get the whole prelude, is basically there was one spring where we were having guests just about every weekend, and I got tired of mixing, drinks for, everyone, piecemeal. So I thought, I'm going to make a big batch of shrubs. I've tasted these. They're absolutely delicious. And I, made some shrub concentrates and made, basically, here's your mixer. We can add something to it or not. And people loved them. Like, oh my God, like, what is this? This is fantastic. Like, you should make this and sell it. And it's like, oh, ding, ding, ding. Maybe this is something I should look into. So, fast forward, 9-10 months later after I've researched how to make a food product, I mean, I have no business acumen whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
This is not what I went to school for. So, learn how to make a food product, go and get certified in, how to, work with dangerous
all
materials
the health
like
department
juices
stuff and all that. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So I basically researched and talked to people and, would get hints like, you're not ready to have a serious conversation with me, but your questions are well suited, looking at this person or, read this book or, do this or do that. So that's pretty much, how it all got started. It's just a lot of research and, luckily, I did go to grad school and, did a lot of research. So I applied those skills and came up with a business plan, an idea, and then eventually, I was able to go to the farmer's market.
I was going to say, that's where we first came upon you,
Yeah.
was I think at the Tower Grove Farmer's Market.
The Tower Grove Farmer's Market.
And your stuff doesn't mimic alcohol. It can enhance it, but it can also, as we've talked about, just be used
Substitute
with
it,
other.
yeah.
Exactly. And one of our staff came back and was like, you are not going to believe this product. Like, you have to try it. And I think you gave us some, or we bought some. You probably gave us some. We were like, oh my gosh, we need to figure out how to work with Brad and Heirloom. And it's just really taken off from there.
Yeah, and the farmer's market was a great place, to meet people. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's no fun getting up at 5:30 in the morning to go work a farmer's market. I'd rather, go whenever I wake up and, come home. But
have your latte and
yeah,
stroll
have
around.
my latte,
Yeah.
stroll around, look at the different kinds of carrots and who has the best tomatoes. But it's a great place to meet people. And this first weeks, it was, who are you? What are you doing? And can I try some? And I gave away, thousands of samples those first couple markets and months, and I just kept getting, feedback.
Because
This is
people
great.
who go
This is
to
great.
farmers markets are like going to ask.
Yeah.
They're going to ask about your process. They want to know about you and your story. So that's kind of a ingenious place to debut your product, really.
It really was, for me, a unplanned stroke of genius. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I got, by doing that, introduced to, people in the retail industry, people in the bartending industry, people in the NA community. And it's like, oh, I have all these new inroads for, what Heirloom could be. And, I'm still fine-tuning the business
Yep.
and figuring out, what is it that people really want. But yeah, the inroads through the, St. Louis has been good to me as far as, being supportive and, partnering, and, it's been a lot of fun.
So where do you see yourself? Like, what is if you have a business plan, you probably have a growth plan. Like, what is your, how do you know, how will you know when you've made it? Is it when like David Chang is like, and here's
I have no offers for book deals or
Okay,
TV shows
all right.
yet, but
Not yet, but if you're listening.
Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hit Brad up, Netflix.
When will I have made it? My wife likes to remind me that, a lot of people who have businesses also bring home a paycheck. So that might be, a start.
Part,
Yeah,
that
that part of it. But, I mean, I've seen growth every year, even through the pandemic. I had this like, oh no moment when the pandemic hit, because my bar and restaurant accounts were drying up and, nobody was doing anything. And it didn't take long before people were like, hey, we're cooking and eating and, living at home, we need supplies. So, that online business really, kicked in, and I got a lot of support from the, support small businesses movements and in the community. So, I've been able to, float the that wave a little bit. And now that the world is maybe opening or maybe not, I don't know,
Who
but
knows?
yeah, but still have a lot of interest in bars and restaurants. And I gotta say, some places have been great to me. Like Squires has had me on their menu since day one, and a separate insert of like here are shrubs and syrups from Heirloom Bottling. Mix it with with or without alcohol. They have mocktails and cocktails on the menu, and they've been great. Fiddlehead Fern, when Darcy opened up
I
in our
love that
neighborhood.
place.
Oh God, this shit's so good. Avocado toast is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. By the way, that's like so bougie what you just said,
Yeah,
but it
I
is.
know.
It's so good. It's so
It's
good.
good. Hey, good
It's
is
good.
good.
I
You know,
know, I
whatever.
know.
Yeah.
So okay, so that was actually going to be a question. So you can order your products on your website,
Yep.
correct? Which is
Heirloombottling.com.
okay, and you obviously have lots of social channels, right? So I'm sure you could navigate your way that way. Are you on Insta?
Oh, I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook. I think there's a Twitter account. I don't understand. I'm too old.
You don't twit.
I don't twit. I don't tweet. I don't know. It's too much information for me to
Yeah, it's
to
a lot.
process.
It's a lot.
Uh,
But so somebody could go into a
not
restaurant.
enough pictures of people's kids.
Yeah, right. Or dogs or
Or
cats.
dogs. Exactly.
So people could go into a restaurant like Squires, Fiddlehead Fern, and your products would be there. Couldn't they
Absolutely.
go into like a liquor store or?
Oh, absolutely. You can go to Total Wine or Intoxicology. You go into retail stores like Urban Matter,
Yeah.
Parker's Table. I have a lot of great accounts. The Wine and Cheese Place. There's a lot of people who carry my stuff in and around the city and beyond.
I was going to ask. So what's the footprint beyond? Like, is there another city or area where you're just like?
I was making trips to
inroads?
Kansas City, and I have a few accounts out there. And then the pandemic hit, and it's hard to keep those relationships going, especially for a small product like mine. My distributors do a pretty good job of keeping me out there, but nobody represents Heirloom better than I do, because
you live it and breathe it and drink it.
if I can't give you an answer, I literally make one up, and that's the reality. So. It's I have some accounts like just random places, and this is the farmers market effect. Somebody bought my stuff and gave it to their kids who live in Asheville, North Carolina, and now there's a ginger beer company in Asheville, a brewery that makes ginger beer, and they sell it and across the counter and put it in there. They mix it with their ginger beer, and it's wonderful. And
So
shout
first
out
of
to
all,
Ginger's Revenge.
Asheville is my favorite city
Oh,
in the United States. What is it? Ginger's Revenge?
Ginger's Revenge in Asheville. Yeah,
Okay.
wonderful people, and I get requests like, "Hey, can you send us more?" People keep buying it. It's like, oh, that's
Awesome.
great. Yeah, it's
And so if they go to your website, will people find recipes?
absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I'm working on the recipe on expanding what's currently there, but certainly there's instructions on how to use, and my Instagram, we have lots of recipes, both that I create or my marketing person comes up with, or folks like Annie or somebody will come up with a recipe or a mocktail.
That
and
Irish coffee was a huge hit at our last event.
It's been really popular. I get a lot of I see people on the street like, "Hey, I had one of those. It was so good. Like, what do I need to make it?" It's like, you need this and coffee, ice, soy creamer maybe. So yeah, it's it's funny. St. Louis is a really interesting small big town. It's big enough to have a couple million people in the greater metro area, but small enough that people still stop me on the street and shout like, "Hey, Heirloom guy!" It's like, "Hey,
And I think one thing St. Louis is really good at is we root for people,
Absolutely.
especially small business owners who are making an indelible impression on our city and making it cool. I think we have this kind of like small kid who got picked on in school who's like, "Hey, we're cool now. Like, look at me." You know what I mean? Like that sort of bravado, which I think is really awesome. And so we appreciate people like yourself, whether you're native to here or a transplant, that you make our city cooler and make it what it is.
Well, thanks. I think I'm riding the St. Louis urban movement coattails a little bit myself, but yeah. I mean, maybe come back to like how I know I made it when Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen had me on.
On the New York New Year's Eve, and they're drinking your product.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Andy Cohen is from St. Louis. So,
I know.
So let's try to make that happen, okay? Mr. Cohen, if you're listening. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll have you back when that happens.
Absolutely.
We're going to manifest it. Thank you so much, Brad, for joining us at The Preventable. If you like what you're hearing, if you want to reach out to us and review or rate one of our episodes, or hey, rate one of the recipes that you got from Heirloom, give us a shout out. So rate, review, subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Brad, for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us at The Preventable, brought to you ad-free by Prevent+Ed. Prevent+Ed works to reduce or prevent the harms of alcohol and other drug use through education, intervention, and advocacy. Please visit their website at prevented.org. Like what you heard? Rate, review, and subscribe to stay up to date with what we are serving on The Preventable.